Podcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. I'm just going to check if you can see my screen. Brilliant, so you can see my screen. So hello and welcome. I'm really excited to talk to you today about list building forms. Now, I know it's a struggle, and it can be a struggle for you to build and grow your list, but by creating great list building forms, you can build a loyal and profitable email list. In fact, the latest research from the Direct Marketing Association estimates that you can get an average of £42 return for every pound you spend on email marketing. Now, isn't that incredible? And it all starts with building a targeted and engaged email list. So in the next 40-ish minutes, I'm going to give you quite a few tips about how to build your list, how to create those list building forms. I will leave plenty of time for questions, which I'll go through at the end. So ask along the way if you think of something. Now, you can do that by typing into the question box on your screen. So you should see the GoToWebinar control panel on your screen. And if you find the questions box, that's where I want you to type in the question. So let's do a quick test. Type in to the question box where you're joining the webinar today. So the question box should be in your GoToWebinar panel, which invariably, usually it's on the right-hand side of your screen. Hi Claudette from London. Who else is on the webinar, and where are you joining from? Type your answers in the questions box, which is in your GoToWebinar control panel. Brilliant. I can see quite a few people. There's a couple from London. Hi, Kookie. Lots of people. We're Hadfield. Oh, Wallingford. Oh, I know Wallingford. I used to live in Didcot. Leeds. I used to live in Leeds. Right, everyone who lives where I used to live or do live are on the webinar. That's brilliant. It is a small world. Cool. So we all know where that question box is. So as we go through the webinar, keep your questions coming in that box, and I will go through as many as I can at the end of the webinar. So brilliant. Let's get started. Today, we will cover a quick reminder of what email marketing is and why you should be doing it. I'll talk through why a healthy list is important, how much information is enough to collect, why would anyone join your list, what's in it for them, and then I'm going to show you the types of list building forms that I use and you can use as well. So these are real live examples of things that I do. These are not made up. You'll see them and you'll probably recognize one or two of them as well. Okay, so before we kick off, just a little bit about me. I've been a small business owner for 3.5 years now, which has gone really fast. And before that, I was head of marketing for the UK at Constant Contact, which is an email marketing company. So I've been using, testing and experimenting with email marketing for 7 years, more than 7 years now, actually. Some of the slides that I go through will show information that's been provided by Constant Contact. I have access to it because I am an accredited partner. Now, this is not a big sales pitch for them. I do not advocate for them because I used to work for them. I do it because I truly believe it's the best system for small businesses like us. I've tried other providers and I keep coming back to Constant Contact and use them for my business because they make my life so much easier. It also makes my clients' lives easier, so much so that I was awarded the Constant Contact All-Star Award for the 2nd year running this year for helping my clients win with email marketing. Now, the tips that I go through today are not exclusive to Constant Contact. You can use them with any email service provider. So if you're already got one and you're happy with who you use, you'll be able to use all these tips regardless. Finally, you can connect with me in all the places on the slide. I'd love to connect with you on your network of preference. Now, before we get started with all the goodies, I've got a little poll for you. So let me launch this poll and I'd love to see what your answer is. Okay, how often do you send emails to your list? Pick from those options there, and I'd love to know. So I'll give you a little bit of time to choose what your preference is, or what it is that you do with your list. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, okay. Just leave it open a little bit longer. At the minute, When I Remember is winning. So 80% of you, When I Remember. Okay, I will close the poll now. So that's interesting. 20% of you have said every month, and 80% of you have said When I Remember, and nobody has said every week. So that's quite interesting. So as we go through, you'll maybe change your mind about how often you send out email newsletters to your list. Let's start off with what email marketing is. So really what it's all about is delivering professional communication. So making sure that you get great looking branded emails with no grammatical or spelling errors into the inbox. You're sending them to a targeted audience. And this is really important because someone can easily report your emails as spam or delete them. So you need to make sure that the individuals that you add to your email list expect to receive communications from you. Setting that expectation is really important. The email should contain information that the recipient finds valuable. So just because you have permission to communicate to someone doesn't mean you'll be successful with email marketing. You'll also need to send out the right information to the right people on your email list. Knowing what your audience needs or wants can be tough. You know, you're not a mind reader. Is it promotional? Do they want information? Is it a combination of the two things? If you're not sure, the best thing I can recommend to do is ask your subscribers. Ask them what they want. Send them a survey or ask on social media. Just get to know and understand what content they like. And lastly, emails need to look great in any inbox. So much email is being read on mobile devices that you need to create an email that will look good on a laptop, a desktop, and a mobile device. So I've got a quick question for you. What's the #1 app on smartphones? Can you tap into the questions box what you think that is? I'll give you a little bit of time to tap what you think the #1 app on a smartphone is. Marcia says Instagram. Cookie says Instagram. Anyone else want to have a guess? Farouk says Facebook. Okay, well, actually, it is email. More than half of all emails are opened on a mobile device. In fact, more people own a mobile phone than own a toothbrush, which is rather disgusting. But you can see that this means huge opportunities for you to communicate with your target audience. But here's the thing. There is a lot of competition in the inbox. You know, this home screen shows an example of how many notifications there are on that email icon. Just before, so maybe this person was trying to see what kind of limit Gmail has. But all jokes aside, in terms of you know, people's inboxes, there is just a lot of competition in the inbox. So in 2016, it was estimated that 205 billion emails were sent daily. So just let that sink in, 205. And this year, as you can see on the screen, we're expecting 246 billion emails to be sent by the end of the year. So we're not, you know, your emails need to be able to compete with all that noise that is happening in the inbox. You want to write emails that provide value to your audience, so they they open them and they want to read that content. And unlike many people who don't get interested in emails, they ignore them, and we often delete them or mark them as spam. So think about this when you're sending your emails. So if there's that much competition in the inbox, why should you use email marketing? Well, it's simple, really. email marketing is just hard to beat. I've just said that, over half of emails are opened on mobile phones. It's just where everyone is. People are in their inboxes a lot of the time. Whether it's updates from service providers or offers from brands, whatever it is, you look at your email a lot and daily. And in fact, 88% of people regularly check their emails on smartphones. That's more than social media or videos. And 91% of people check their email on a daily basis. It's reliable. Email gets delivered 90+% of the time. Now compare that with Facebook reach, which is about 2%, maybe even slightly lower of your fans. We're all really struggling to get organic reach on our Facebook posts, right? And it works. It has 3 times the conversion rate versus social media. And I've already said, every pound that you spend on email marketing, there's an average ROI, return on investment, of £42. And I find that number really hard to beat. To me, that's it's just much more, I guess, compelling than social media, where, it's difficult to understand how to use advertising, how to create the ads, whether they're working. You have to kind of be a little bit of a scientist to figure that all out. So, now that we know why email marketing is so great and why you should use it, let's get on to the bit that you're here for today. Now, don't forget to ask any questions that you have in the question box. I'll go through those, as many of those as I can at the end. So before we get on to the actual forms, let's talk about why it's important to have a healthy list. Now, if you're going to spend time and money on email marketing, you want to aim for that £42 return for every £1 spent, right? The first thing you need to remember is your email list is a precious resource. The people who join have given you permission to be in their inbox, and they need to be treated with respect. How many times have you joined an email list and just been bombarded with emails? It's not what you expect, and quite frankly, it makes you feel a little bit under siege when a company decides that they're just going to send you lots of emails. And that happened to me not so long ago. I have a Boots loyalty card, one of those where you collect points, and on average, when Boots emails you, if you're a member of this, the Boots Advantage card, sometimes I get at least 2 emails in a day. The particular day that I'm talking about, I had 3 emails in one day in quite quick succession, and sent them an email back saying, you can't email me this much, and why can't you coordinate the emails that you send out so that I don't get as much information? And the answer I got back from them was that I could unsubscribe from their list if I wanted to, which is not a great response when a customer is giving you some feedback and they don't really want to take that on board, and adamant that they're going to carry on doing what they're doing. So it is important that you treat those email addresses with respect. So what do I mean by a healthy list? Well, it's a list that is made up of people who are interested in your business. They have joined your email list to receive something that benefits them. And we'll come on to that in a bit more detail later. Now, the more effort you make to keep them engaged and happy to be on your list, the better results you're going to get. Okay, the better open rates you're going to get, the better click rates. You're going to get people to take action from your emails. And that's really important, because you don't want to be sending out emails where people don't do anything with them. If they open your email, you want them to take the action that you have put in that email. That matters, because the minute your subscribers receive anything other than what they expect, they can easily mark your email as spam. And the same goes for anyone who hasn't given you permission to email them. And I hope really that you're sort of sticking to GDPR guidelines and not emailing people without their permission, because the crucial part is that the more spam reports you get, the more likely your emails will be blocked by email service providers like Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook. So that means that even though you're sort of sending out information that may be useful, if people are thinking that it's spam, more and more of your emails are going to get blocked by these email service providers. That means fewer of your emails get through to your targeted list. Okay, so got another question for you. I want to know what's stopping you from growing your email list. So I'm just going to launch this poll. Can everyone hear me okay? I've just launched this poll, and tell me what's stopping you from growing your email list. Okay. Okay, Joe, I'm not entirely sure why you can't hear me properly. I'm getting feedback from others that it's fine, so hopefully your audio sorts itself out. Let's have a look at this poll. So, what's stopping you from joining your email list? Okay, this is interesting. I'll leave it open for another few seconds. Almost everyone has voted, so if you haven't voted, have your say now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, closing the poll. So that's interesting. 23% of you say you don't have time. 54% of you don't know how to ask, and 23% of you don't know which tools to use. So here we go. So those of you who say you don't have time, you can make asking people to join your list part and parcel of everything that you do on a daily basis. I'm going to go through some ways in a minute of how you can ask people, like where you can ask people, which means that you're not always constantly having to find time to ask people. We're going to talk about how to ask, and we're definitely going to we're going to go through the tools that I use, some of the tools that I use to help people, to ask people to join my list. Okie dokie. So one of my favourite sayings is, if you don't ask, you don't get. And this applies to people joining your email list. You have to ask them. You absolutely do. So let's break this down. Talked about permission. It's absolutely a critical part of email marketing. There is legislation in place in the UK. GDPR is in place in the UK, which means that you cannot willy-nilly email people. So make sure that you get explicit permission, and we'll look at some of the tools that can help you do that. Really be straightforward when you ask people for permission. So wherever it is that you are asking, be very transparent what you're going to do with their email address. Tell them how often they can expect to hear from you. Make sure that you offer an opt-out. Now, this is actually part of GDPR legislation. You have to offer your subscribers a way to opt out of your list. And for me, it makes sense, because I would much rather have somebody opt out of my list than mark me as spam. If they don't want to receive my emails anymore, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. It may be that, that my emails aren't relevant to them anymore. Maybe they've stopped running their business for whatever reason. Maybe they just get too many emails and they can't cope with getting one from me. So whatever the reason is, I would much rather that people had a way to opt out of my emails. And when you use an email service provider like Constant Contact, not only will that option be automatically included into your emails for you, they will manage those opt-outs for you so that you don't inadvertently email the people once they've opted out. Respect people's privacy. We all are quite guarded about our email addresses. We want to make sure that it's not, our email addresses aren't on every list imaginable and be spammed. So tell people what you're going to do with your email or with their email addresses. And again, this is part of GDPR legislation. You have to have a privacy policy. You have to tell people how you collect their email addresses and what you do with them or what you're going to do with them. So have a privacy policy on your website. And if you don't know how to get one, if you're a member of the FSB, Federation of Small Business, they're amazing. Their legal resources are absolutely incredible, and they have a privacy policy in their legal portal that you can take and tailor and put on your website. So go and check out the FSB and become a member. There's all sorts of other advice in that legal portal as well. Make sure that you are legally compliant and you know what it is that you need to do in terms of GDPR. I know that the ICO, so the Information Commissioner's Office, has a checklist on their website that helps you be GDPR compliant. So go and find that and make sure you know what it is that you need to do, not just in terms of marketing. GDPR covers all data. So if you have employees, you have to manage their data in a certain way as well. So make sure that you are on top of that and understand what your responsibilities are when you're collecting data. Okay, so there are tons of ways that you can ask people to join your list. If you go to events, maybe you go to a networking event, what I do is when somebody asks me for my business card, all my business cards have a link to join my email list on the back of them. So I hand over the business card and I point to the back of it and say, do you know what, if you would like to receive my weekly marketing tips by email, that's the link where you can go and join. So think about how you can do that. And if you do expos or any kind of markets or fairs or whatever it is, you've got a little table, a little exhibition place, understand how you can use that space to help people to join your email list. You can have a goldfish bowl on your table where people drop in their business cards, and if they want to join your list, tell them that that's where they put their business card for them to join your email list. You could have a QR code on a little little pop-up or a little piece of card or whatever, or on your printed materials. So think about how you can do that. QR codes, we don't use them as much in this country, but I think they're a great way if you're to get people to join your list. If you're a restaurant, you can have them on your menu. You can have them on shipping boxes if you're delivering things to people. If you do ads, you can have them on ads. Anywhere that you can think of where your details are going to be, give people an option to join via a QR code. If you have a physical premises, you might have an A-board. I know my hairdresser has an A-board. There's always something out on their A-board. Use that as a way to incentivize people to sign up for your email list. Maybe there's a special offer that they get in exchange for their email address. You'll be surprised at how many emails you'll get. Think about things like placing a sign up link on a bill or an invoice. So my invoices go out with a sign up link. Maybe you've got a shop and you can have a paper form by your till where people add their email addresses if they want to join. Think about all those places, and particularly online. All those places online that you are, your website, your social media networks, your blog, all the places that people visit where they've got the opportunity of joining your list. Now, for those of you who said you don't have time, quite a lot of these, and especially the online ones, they're working hard on your behalf without you actually having to ask, right? QR codes on flyers or menus or on A-boards, all the places online that you could be putting links, on your email signature. So if you get an email from me that's not from Constant Contact, from my Outlook, there is a link in my email signature that lets people join my email list right from there. So think about all those places, make a list. If you've got a team, get them involved and help them understand how important it is for you to collect email addresses to help generate new business. Okay, so what information should you ask for? It's tempting to ask for as much as you can, isn't it? After all, you've got their attention. You might as well ask, right? Wrong. So think about how many times you've been faced with a form that's asked you to fill in lots of information. How has that made you feel? Even if you think the end goal is worth it, it's a bit of a pain really, isn't it? Now translate that to someone joining your email list. Why would they hand over any more details than their email address? Because after all, that's all you need to be able to email them. And you know what? You can make that work. It is all you need to email them. You can get other information that you'd like at a later date, like this webinar. Do you remember telling me where you're based when you filled in the form? That's so I can make my emails more relevant for you. If you're based in Edinburgh, it's not very likely that you'll come to an event in London, although I'd love you to. So that's why you should only collect email that's absolutely necessary. I like to be able to address my subscribers by their names in their emails. So I like to be able to put their name at the top of the email. So generally, I ask for their first name and their email address. Remember, the fewer details you ask them to fill in, the more likely they are to sign up. Now, don't forget to keep asking your questions in that question box. I will go through as many of them as I can at the end. This is the thing that anyone who you ask to join your list will ask themselves. Why should they hand over their precious email address? What will they get in return? That's why phrases like, would you like to join our email list, only have a small chance of success. Or even, I don't know if this has happened to you, but when you go in shops, they ask you if they can email you your receipt. Now, I would love to say yes, because I don't want to have a printed receipt, but I'm never sure that they are just not going to add me to an email list and bombard me with emails. And none of us wants that, do we? So in the 3.5 years that I've run my business, I've never been turned down when I've asked someone face to face if they'd like to join my email list. And why is that? Because I've always explained to them the benefit to them. In fact, the exact words I use are, would you like to receive my weekly marketing tips by email? It's very simple to join my email list. What I've done there is show them the benefit to them. They're getting free marketing tips. They will learn something that will help their businesses. And there's one more important thing I did there. I set an expectation with them right from the offset. They know my emails are weekly. You'll see this too online. There's a website, my website has a button that says weekly marketing tips. And the same is true of my Facebook page and my business cards and so many other places. Because we all make snap decisions every minute of the day. So don't leave growing your email list to chance. Give yourself every opportunity of successfully adding to it by working out the benefit of joining your email list. And it could be any number of things, right? It could be that your email list gets exclusive offers that aren't available anywhere else. They get something a bit extra. Maybe they will get access to new products or services first. Or if you run events, maybe they will get first access to be able to attend those events. Or educational content that's not available anywhere else. Maybe the chance to input into your product or service development. So what I want you to do is when you leave this webinar is think about the benefit of your audience joining your email list, and remember to tell them when you ask, and to set that expectation of how often they're going to hear from you, because that makes us feel comfortable. It makes us feel that, oh, this person's not going to take my details and just bombard me with emails all the time. Okay, so now I'm going to show you examples of forms I use and explain the process involved in communicating with subscribers. So first off, I use my website. So I've told you that there's a button on my website, and what people do is they join, they sign up. It says weekly marketing tips, and here's what I collect: their email address and their first name. I use Constant Contact to create this form, and the brilliant thing is that when people fill in their details get put straight into Constant Contact. So I don't have to worry about that. As I mentioned, I collect very little information. I want your email address and your first name so that I can talk to you and make it feel personal to you. Now, when somebody fills in their details here, it's not, they just don't go on my list and then nothing happens. I've set up a series of welcome emails, and these go out via email automation. So what happens is every time somebody joins that list, automatically a series of emails get triggered, and the first one gets triggered as soon as they join, and it just says, welcome, got your email address. By the way, here's something for you that you might help you with your business. I've got a free download in the email. And then I talk about how many other emails they're going to receive before they start getting my weekly emails. And I think I talk about social media, so other places that we can connect. And the last email is a short survey, and it is really short. There's only one question. And what I want to know is people's marketing challenges, so that I can really start creating content that helps solve the challenges that they have. So this is a static form. It lives on my website, and it lives in that in the navigation bar at the top. And whichever page you go onto my website, that navigation bar follows you around, which means that button follows you around, because you never know which page your visitors are going to land on. They don't always land on your home page. Quite a lot of the times I see, well, majority of the times I see email subscribe links right at the bottom of somebody's website. Think about how many times you've scrolled right to the bottom of a website that you visited. So I would recommend putting your email sign up link at the top of your website, anchored to your menu bar, that follows people around, because you don't know which page they're going to land on when they visit your website. The next type of email form that you can use are landing pages. Now, these landing pages, the one that I use is included in Constant Contact, and maybe some of you have seen these. And when Constant Contact introduced these, I decided to stop using Lead Pages. So I was paying to use a piece of software called Lead Pages, and I found that I wasn't using it as much as I thought I would. I spent a lot of time designing these landing pages, and it wasn't really worth it for me. But having these simple landing pages to be able to use when I want is just brilliant. And so people will say, yes, send me the free cheat sheet. And the cheat sheet, once they've filled in their details, and remember that if you just saw on that form there, email address and first name are the things that I want to collect. You can give me your last name if you want. They get this confirmation page online. And then again, it's all about how I make those people feel once they've given me their details. They don't go straight onto my email list. I've created an email automation to help people understand what is happening with their data. Now, GDPR says that you can't give away things for free in return for email addresses. But what you can do is offer that free thing and then ask people to join your email list. So if you sign up for this cheat sheet, the first email that you'll get is the cheat sheet and a link to say, yes, you want to stay in touch. And then I think there's an email, there are a couple of other emails in that automation. And the very last one says, hey, I'd love to stay in touch with you. Just click this button and tell me that you want to stay on my list. And everyone who does gets added to my weekly newsletter. And people that don't, I don't email them unless it's something to do with email marketing, because there is a part of GDPR called legitimate interest that lets you contact people about things that are similar to things that they've been interested in before. So landing pages, really great way to collect email addresses. And the great thing about these types of landing pages is that you can get a link and you can put it everywhere. You can share it on social media. You can, if you want to do a campaign, like a paid campaign on social media, you can do that. You can put it on your website, all sorts of places. The last type of form that I use is a pop-up on my website. I use a tool called Hello Bar because it's flexible and it integrates with Constant Contact. Now, why is that important? Because as soon as somebody hits that button and says that they want to be on my list, their email address gets put right into Constant Contact. Now, in this example, it's promoting the webinar that you're on now. So if you'd come to my website, you will have seen this pop up and it's asking you to save your place on the webinar. Now, people find pop-ups annoying. I know I do. I hate it when I go to a website and I've been on there a few seconds and I get all sorts of pop-ups. Take a survey on what our website looks like. Go and get this offer. Do this thing. Do that. Do that. It really is annoying, which is why I choose to have this pop up when people are about to leave my website. And Hello Bar manages all of that for you. I don't know, there's some kind of magic wizardry thing going on in Hello Bar that recognizes when people are about to leave my website, and that's when it pops it up to make sure that they don't leave without taking that one action. Now, the follow-up is for the webinar. Obviously, you got a confirmation email to tell you that you were booked on. But if there are other pop-ups, like perhaps that free cheat sheet, email cheat sheet, might be a pop-up on my website, they will get put into that email automation follow-up. And those emails will go out at the intervals that I've set. And I have done a whole webinar before on email automation. It's absolutely brilliant for small businesses because it takes the time of you setting it up, but then afterwards it just works through things on its own. And I know Hannah is on the webinar today. I actually created a birthday club for Hannah for her pet shop, and what I did was Hannah came up with the idea and she said, what do you think? And I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Yes, I can absolutely help you do that. We put on her sign-up form a place to collect dogs' birthday or gotcha days. And what her email tool does is every time it goes through those every day, and on or around the pet's birthday or gotcha day, an email goes out to the pet owner, the dog owner, saying, oh, there's a birthday present waiting for your dog in the shop, so come in and get it. So it's a really neat way to do things that, like following up on people joining your email list or doing things like creating birthday clubs is brilliant. Hokey pokey. So creating list building forms is so important because email marketing has that deliverability rate of 90+% versus Facebook reach of about 2%. People still want to receive information, especially offers by email, and it's a smart and low cost way to help you achieve your goals. remember, the fewer bits of information that you ask for, the better chances you have of adding people to your list. You can find out more about them later through surveys. Once you have a list that's growing, you'll want to keep it engaged, and that means creating emails that get action. Now, that's why I've put this cheat sheet together. I've talked about it just a couple of minutes ago. This cheat sheet is of all the things that work for me. You can get your free copy by heading to that link on the screen. So I'll leave this up whilst I answer some of your questions. So let's have a look and see if there are questions. Oh, we've got someone from the US. Hello. Gosh, that's dedication. Right, let's have a look. So, Marcy has just said, interesting about GDPR not allowing you to offer something free in exchange for an email. Many lists are still doing this. Yes, I know. It's annoying, and I guess I'm a stickler for the rules, and I don't want to get caught out in terms of people reporting me for doing things that are against GDPR rules. And obviously, people are interpreting these things as they want. So, and especially because of that legitimate interest, right? So people might think, oh, because you've downloaded this thing or said you want this resource, that's a legitimate interest for me to keep on emailing you. And that's not my understanding of GDPR, and I'm no legal expert. But I have spoken to a couple of GDPR experts, and they've told me that it's not allowed under GDPR for you to add people to your email list as soon as they've given you their email address for whatever reason it is. So everyone that's registered for this webinar today, if you're not already on my email list, you won't get added. You will have opportunities in my email follow-up, which you will get to join my email list. But I'm absolutely adamant that I only want people on my list who find it valuable to be there. So, you know, it's up to you whether you join. I hope I've demonstrated enough value today that you will say yes when you get the email from me. You'll click the link, but it's my understanding that you shouldn't do that. Okay, let's have a look. Other questions. Right. Oh, one that I get asked a lot. How often should I email? So we did the poll and I gave you some choices. I said weekly, monthly, or when I remember. Avoid the when I remember because like with anything else, it's consistency. It's consistency of showing up when you say you're going to. So if you tell people that you send a monthly newsletter, make it monthly. I know it's an effort, and I would say that monthly is the minimum that I would go to. So don't go any less than monthly on sending out your emails. Think about what works for your business, and I know that when my emails are weekly because I only want to talk about one thing. And I want to talk about one thing that's valuable, and that one thing might be to register for this webinar, or it might be a link to a blog post that I've written, or it might be a tip that I want you to try and see how you get on, but it's one thing. Because I'm a small business owner like you, and I understand that you don't have time, because I don't have time. I don't have time to go through emails that just you're forever scrolling. So, you know, make that a priority for you. Like, figure out when you want to, how often you want to send, and don't go less than monthly. Usha's just asked, what is an unticked box? So again, this is a GDPR requirement. So on your website, you might have a join my email list box. So maybe you've got a form on your website or at your checkout or something like that, and the box is pre-ticked. So before GDPR, people had to opt out of hearing from you for marketing purposes. GDPR now mandates that people have to opt in, which means that any boxes that you have online that are pre-ticked are now contravening GDPR rules. So they need to be unticked. So somebody who is filling in the form or is at the checkout ticks that box themselves, so that they can join your email list. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to have a little drink of water. Someone just asked, what is the name of the pop-up tool? It's called Hello Bar. What I'll do is I'll put a link to it in the follow-up emails that I send you, so that you can go and have a look at it. It's Hello Bar have let me have a link that's specific to me. It's my affiliate link. I'll be open about that. But they have a plan that's free to use, and I think quite a lot of you will qualify for that free plan. So have a look at that and see about installing it on your website. Okay, so I want to collect more information than name and email address. You mentioned a survey. How would I do that? So I would use an online tool. I think the one that most people know is SurveyMonkey. You can also do surveys in Google Forms. Constant Contact has its own survey tool. So use an online tool and figure out the questions that you want people to answer, and explain to them why you're collecting that information. So I actually do a survey every year. It's called the Big Fat Survey of the Year. And it's really to find out more about how to find out more about the content that people want to know about, what their challenges are. And it helps me understand what I need to do in the following year to help my list. Kuki, you've just asked, what about MailChimp? I'm not entirely sure what it is that you want to know about MailChimp. Can you give me a little bit more detail and I'll answer that? Let's have a look. So surveys is a great way to find out more about your list. And think about, strategically, what do you need to know to help you to send relevant emails. So don't collect information just for the sake of it. You want to make your emails more relevant. Where do they live? Maybe you want to start your own birthday club. You can do that. You can set that up in your sign-up form, but you can send a survey to all your subscribers, or even send them a link to the form that you've created so that they can update that themselves. So figure out what it is that you need to keep that list healthy and engaged, and then ask them in a survey. Cookie's asked, MailChimp, are they good to use for email marketing? I'm still unsure about that. So MailChimp, I've used MailChimp, and in fact, Hannah, that I set the birthday club up for, Hannah uses MailChimp. I find it difficult, and I've been using email marketing for over 7 years. I find it difficult to use. If that's what you want to go for, then absolutely use it. I know that they've changed a lot of their charging structure. So they still have a free plan that's limited. So you can have 2,000 emails, which I know sounds a lot, but it's very limited. You can only have one list, which they call an audience now. You can only have one automation, email automation. There are very few templates to choose from to create your emails. I think there are 2 basic templates. So everything is really locked down in the free plan, and there's no support. So if you have difficulties, Cookie's saying she finds it difficult too, you can only email them. And if you're working on an email that needs to go out, tomorrow, and their support time, email support time, I think is a 24-hour turnaround time. You haven't got time to be waiting 24 hours to send this thing out. And one of the reasons I love Constant Contact is they have free telephone support. So you can phone someone up with a UK number and get someone on the end of a phone that will help you with whatever you're finding difficult. But if MailChimp is your email tool of choice, they do have landing pages. I haven't created one in MailChimp. I probably will go in my test account and give it a go. I would imagine, like everything else, now that they've changed their charging structure, I would imagine that you're probably limited to how many landing pages you can use. Let's have a look. What else is there? Yeah. Someone just asked, I don't want people to unsubscribe. What can I do? Right. So if you don't want people to unsubscribe, remember the benefit that you told them about joining your email list, and go back to that and look and see if your emails are really providing the benefits that you said they would, or that you're emailing them at the intervals that you said you would, because you set those expectations and you should keep to them. And I would say, don't be afraid of people unsubscribing from your list, because you don't want them to stay on there and not do anything. And if your emails aren't right for them anymore, it's better that they unsubscribe. Kind of just want to let them free, let them loose, let them go off into the sunset. So I would say, don't get hung up on one or two people unsubscribing. If you get lots every time you send an email, then something isn't working. So go back to that benefit and the intervals that you said you'd send your emails, and see if you've deviated from those, and then work back and look at how you can put those benefits back in, and put those emails out at the time that you said you would. And a good way to do that is just, if you're going to send monthly, that's 12 emails a year. That's not a lot. It really isn't. So make a calendar of what you want to include in those emails, and start at the beginning of the year and, think, right, what is it that I want to put in each email? And it may be that you don't get all 12 in one go. It's highly unlikely. But if you've got a schedule and you think about a topic, you can go, oh, do you know what? I want to send a back to school thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that in my August newsletter, and you write it in there, or you type it in there, so that when you come to creating your August newsletter, you already know the topics that you're going to send, and you make it easy on yourself, because you're not thinking about what you're going to include at the time that you write your email. You're thinking, right, so back to school, here are all the things that I want to cover. So just make it easy on yourself and figure all of that out ahead of time. Okay, another question. I'm nervous about asking people to join my list. How do I overcome that? So it comes back to, again, the value and the frequency, that expectation setting at the beginning when you do ask people. Write it down and practice it a few times. Practice it and until you feel confident about asking people. And remember, the majority of the times that you're going to ask people to join your email list probably isn't going to be verbally, unless you're in a physical premises and you want people, while they're paying, to think about joining your email list, right? So have that almost scripted, so that you deliver that benefit and how often they'll hear from you, so that they understand what they're getting, and practice it until it feels natural for you to ask. I never know what to put in my emails. What are your tips? Okay. Number one tip. Sorry, I'm just going to have a drink of water. Number one tip is you're probably getting asked questions by your customers, your audience, all the time. And a lot of them are probably very similar, if not the same. So make a list of those questions, and that is content for your email newsletters. It's as simple as that. If they're asking, they want to know. And even if only one person asks that question, you can bet your bottom dollar that other people will want to know the answer. So start by creating a list of everything that people ask you, and add to that list. Every time you get asked a question, add to that list, because that's precious content for your newsletters. You don't have to create all the content. So think about places that you can look where you can find other people's content. This is called curating content. I love a tool called Feedly. It's Feedly, feedly.com. And what that does is you set up an account. I only use the free version. I've never had to pay for it. I just add all the links of all my favourite blogs. And what it does is every day it pulls through all the new content in one dashboard. So use other people's content as well and give them credit, but also add your spin. So if you send an article written by someone else, put your thoughts in that email. Like, why are you sending that article to your list? And, how is it going to affect them? How is it going to make their lives better? What do you think? Is your opinion different to that article? So that gives you content that you don't have to create. And then think about how you use other bits of content. I frequently send blog posts that I've written to my email list because they don't hang out every week to find out whether I've written a new blog post. So I remind them by emailing them a link to my blog posts. So think about all the other types of content that you have that you can include in your emails, and then look at the other stuff, because you want people to spend money with you because you are a business and you need to earn money. So think about maybe promotions that you want to put together. You might want to put together something for Small Business Saturday. What is that going to be? What does that look like? When are you going to send it? And if you don't know the answers to those questions, I have a webinar coming up next month that will help you with that. Okay, time for one more question before I let you go. My list growth is slow. I want more. How? Right, so I would say go back and look at, once you get the recording for this, go back and look at all the ways that you can grow the list. And I think if you sign up for the cheat sheet, you will get a link to my webinar, 30 Ways to Grow Your Email List. So it's all about putting this in places where people see it, putting your email join link in places that people can see it, and making that effort to have people join. And that could be, maybe every month there's a post on Facebook where you talk about why people should join your email list, and you give them a link to do that. And in fact, Constant Contact has an app that connects with Facebook, so people automatically get put into your Constant Contact account if they join through Facebook. Just look at all the places that you can ask people to join your list, and start making a plan to put your link in all of those places, and look at ways that you can encourage people, right? So it might be like sometimes the cheat sheet. So people don't join my list immediately through getting that cheat sheet, but they give me their email address, which means that I can ask them to join my email list more often than not than me just sort of sitting back and going, oh, it's on my website, it's here, it's here. So I'm being proactive about that. Dawn said curated. Oh, the tool for curated content. I will put this in the email follow up and give you a link. It's called Feedly. So it's F for Freddie, Eedly, feedly.com. But I will put a link to it in the emails that I sent out, so that you can just set up your account. It's brilliant. I love it so much because I don't have to go and look at lots of different websites. And I do still sign up to these people's newsletters, but sometimes I think, oh, I read that in a newsletter and I can't find it, and I go back to Feedly and I go to their feed and I scroll through until I find the article that I'm looking for. Cool. Okay, so that's all we have time for today. Good luck with growing your email list. I hope to see you on my next webinar. It's all about creating your offer and promoting it for Small Business Saturday, and details are on my Facebook page, so head over there if you want to join. I will hopefully see you then, and I will be sending out the recording for this hopefully in the next day or two. I'm hoping to get it out tomorrow, but it depends on how quickly I can get it to download from this webinar tool. So thank you for joining me, and I will speak to you soon.